Well, it's the end of the 17th week of 2023, and here's our update for what's been going on our homestead this week. This is some delicious oregano that I'm getting my first harvest off of, and I have stuck this in the drying rack in my kitchen. And you may think that I don't harvest anything other than spinach all spring long, but I have been getting other greens, and our strawberries have started coming in, so it's not just spinach. But come take a look around with me. I want to show you our potato trellises and what's been going on with plants in the greenhouse. This was a bed of ever-bearing strawberries, and there were a few blanks where some strawberries didn't make the transplant from last fall. So I tucked in some spinach transplants into the empty spaces a few weeks ago. I'll put the dates on the screen. But just from the plants that were in here, less than 15 spinach plants. Maybe as few as 10. First harvest, these 2 bowls full of spinach. Just because I didn't want to throw the plants away, I wanted to tuck them in somewhere. Haven't even gotten to my main beds yet. These were just extra spinach plants. Two more bowls from this little section that I did not harvest last week on this bed. All I did was this little corner from the lettuce down, half the width of the bed. 2 bowls of lettuce. And that's the whole bed you saw me collecting spinach from last week. And it's already grown up so much you can tell it could easily have another picking. So I'll do that before the week's over. All right, those 4 bowls full of spinach packed 5-gallon bags. They're packed tight. We're going to put 3 in the freezer and 2 in the refrigerator for fresh salads this week. And I still have this bed of spinach that I haven't done a harvest on yet, and I will at the end of this week for greens for the weekend. And then we'll circle back around and start picking the other ones next week. We're going to have gorgeous weather, nights in the 40s and 50s, days in the 60s and 70s, and that is spinach's favorite weather. It's going to grow wonderfully. These are just a few extra lettuces that I dropped into this bed. You can get a couple leaves off here for sandwiches and salads this week. You just pick off the large outer leaves and leave the center ones to keep growing. I don't need more lettuce than this right now. I've got some in the fridge already. Since the weather is cool in the nights and the days this week, I'm going to go ahead and leave these in, let them keep growing and getting a little bigger. I'm not worried about them having to deal with heat. So I'll pick some more in 2 or 3 days. Last year, I tried out this trellis idea for potatoes, and it worked really well. The plants grow up through the fencing. Can I show you? It's just a 4-foot by 8-foot. It's like a cattle fencing, trellising kind of stuff. I support it almost a foot up with brick laid across, and as the tomatoes grow up, they grow up through the fencing. This was the last piece that I had, so I couldn't finish this wall with it. I'll show you the other wall also. All right, this whole length of wall has the potato trellis all the way down. So you put it in after the potatoes have started coming out of the ground. I wait until they're out of the ground, and I've had a chance to cover them during a frost if I need to with my hoops. But then once I know the frost are past, I put the fencing out so the potatoes can grow up through it. And what this does is it keeps the plants from falling over during storms or heavy winds, and that way it maintains shade above the soil and above the potatoes. So they'll grow up through this and look lovely. And this way I don't have to worry as much about covering the potatoes. They won't get as much sun exposure. Every now and then A few might poke through and I have to cover them with some dirt. But otherwise, keeping the potato plants upright all season does a lot to shade the soil and shade the potatoes and keep the soil moist. So they're just now starting to grow through the trellising. A bunch of irrigations underneath. So these don't have it. So we can see how those do without the trellising this summer. And the bed that I planted February 24th is much bigger than the other potatoes. They were already too big. You have that bunny again? Oh my goodness.
His eyes are open now.
Someone found a wild bunny nest and has been petting them every day. The mom is still taking care of them. They're growing big and fat. Come here, I want to hold them.
Hold him low to the ground.
Oh, what a soft little baby. This would be good food for the dogs.
This is a nice one. I had Bouncer before. He was flopping all over the place. He didn't like being held. See, they're so little, they kind of crawl around still.
Okay, he's going to get cold. You got to take him back to his nest.
Mm-hmm.
With you. Bye, bunny. Blueberry. Did that bunny look yummy? Do you want to eat the bunny? Oh, you would love to eat the bunny. No bunnies for you. All right, these potatoes were planted on 24th February. I had to cover them when frost came, so the hoops are still here that I covered them with. But they were too big to put the trellises up. They would have been too tall already, so we'll see how those do and see the difference between the ones that are trellised and the ones that are not. So here's my tomato plant dilemma. These seeds were started on March 26th, and when they finally sprouted, I thinned them out to 1 tomato plant per cell. So these are all for sale, but the ones that I wanted to keep for myself, I kept them in this tray, hoping they would stay just the right size so I wouldn't have to upplant them to bigger pots. They could just go from this tray right to the outside. But today is only April 25th, and the soonest I would transplant these is probably May 4th or 5th, because I definitely want all the 40-degree nights to be done with, and I don't think these tomato plants can make it another 9 or 10 days in the cells. They're not very big. Let's come back a little. So I think I'm going to have to go ahead and transplant them up, and that does give me the freedom to not actually transplant them out until the second week of May, closer to Mother's Day, if I really wanted to wait and make sure the ground was warm enough for them. And I hear a lot of people in this area say Mother's Day is the soonest to transplant tomatoes. I was happy to stand inside the greenhouse for potting today instead of using my potting table because it was a little windy and a little chilly, but now we pot up about 80 plants. All right, here's what's in the Harbor Freight greenhouse the last week of April. I have some peppers that I'm not going to upplant into bigger pots yet because they're still small. And these are all tomatoes on this top rack that I've upplanted. Those are a few peppers. Tomatoes. Tomatoes. There's some basil, some parsley, little chamomile seedlings coming up. Tomatoes. There's some basil up here with some sad peppers. And on the bottom shelf, which I'm going to move outside to enjoy more sunshine, are more tomatoes. And whatever of these that I don't use and that I don't sell and that I don't give as gifts, I can just dump the compost back in my compost pile and reuse it next time I'm seed starting. Started some cucumbers yesterday. This little pile of sawdust is from a boring bee that's trying to bore in the wood up above. And these are just extra tomatoes that I didn't upplant yet, because I suspect I may end up not needing them. So that's what the Harbor Freight is holding for me right now at the end of April. And my husband brought home a trailer load of free wood that was being chopped up on a job site he was on this week. So that's going to be a summer project, getting that chopped and split. Our Stock Brothers order was also delivered. We have a kiwi plant and a Meyer lemon. We've had a Meyer lemon plant in the past for like 6 or 7 years and it never produced. So hopefully this one will. We've got 2 different grapevines and an apple tree. I believe it's an Arkansas black. We'd had one before that died for an unknown reason, so this is to replace that one. And it's Friday, and we are supposed to get over 3/4 of an inch of rain today. Everything really needed the water. I'm so glad to have the Lord bring it for us. We put in more Zorzia plugs this week, a few in the garden and mostly in other spots around the yard 2 days ago. So this rain is perfect. And because I knew the rain was coming, I went ahead and put in watermelon seeds, more flower seeds, sunflowers, zinnias. I tucked in a few green beans in different spots. And hopefully they'll be adding color to the garden throughout the summer and fall. Isn't that garlic looking gorgeous? The apple tree was planted yesterday, an Arkansas black. And now our orange tree has a friend. Also got the lemon tree planted. And we'll assume the grapevines were planted, but I'm not going to go look. My first round of stinging nettle seeds did not sprout, so I just dropped some more seeds in here yesterday next to the Ella campaign, hoping some can come up. We use a lot of stinging nettle, so I would really like to grow my own. And eventually I'm sure I'll be able to recognize the plant and harvest plenty of it from the woods. And in the greenhouse during the rain, I'm going to come in and do a little bit of watering today with some fertilizer. I like using the stinky seaweed. It makes it smell wonderful in here. I think it's a 001 or 002. And actually, I don't remember if this one's seaweed or fish. It's one of the two. But it stinks. And I had a little leak from the rain already this morning. I closed that tighter, but see it drips. And this pot underneath is completely filled with water, so I gotta drain that and reposition the pot or the tray so it doesn't get flooded during the day today. So I'm gonna get to work. We have to leave for our final ice skating lesson in a couple hours. Even though it's rainy, still be a joyful day. Alright, if you can hear me, the drip now goes into this tray, which has holes in the bottom of it. And it can go through that hole and drip down here and eventually reach the ground. No more flooding today. I win. Thursday afternoon, while Mommy and Daddy Bluebird were sitting on the other side of the garden, we took a peek in their birdhouse and look at these beautiful little eggs that the bluebirds lay. I was thinking this morning when I was looking at the photo, you don't see many things in nature that are a blue or a teal color. If you think about plants and flowers, there's very few shades of blue that you see. And it's such a special, unique color. And this is an eggshell. It's going to crack and disappear, and no one's ever going to see it again. But God had the birds lay these beautiful little eggs, and they mostly get hidden away, and no one ever gets to see them. So we consider it a pleasure and a joy to get to spy on these each spring and then watch the babies grow and fledge later on. May is just around the corner. It starts next week. So excited. It's my favorite garden month of the year because the heat hasn't damaged all the beautiful crops yet, and everything is so green and vibrant. I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm really sitting on my hands because I so badly want to plant the tomato plants, but I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait. So I hope you have a lovely weekend, a lovely week, a lovely month, whatever you're watching this. And don't forget to live joyfully.